Hello, welcome back. Today I want to go back to my roots, and that's gaming. If you've been following me for a while, you would know that originally I just played games on this channel, but one day I decided I wanted to try something different, and it seemed to work very well.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
And before I get into the video, I do want to talk about the channel and kind of the plans I have for this channel in the future. I originally wanted this to just be a gaming channel with me and play games with my friends. But the problem with that is everyone does that, or at least everyone would want to do that. And games are kind of in like a dry spell. There's not like a game that all of us just play that I can just make a video on. I started playing like random games that, you know, were fun. The problem is nobody knew about them and no one watched it. I tried playing Red Dead, which is a single player game. It was the first time I played the game. I would literally just forget to talk. I'd have a 4-hour recording, spend 3-4 days editing it down into like a 40-minute video, and then it would flop. But when that next big game comes out, like the level of Lethal Company or Helldivers that everybody's playing, I definitely do want to play it. I don't want this channel to just be me doing like commentary, but that is what I want for this channel. I want to do everything that I want to do, whether that's talking about something commentary wise, a review, playing games. I like building keyboards, computers, tech, all that shit. If I could do this all on this channel, I will. Who knows? But let me just get into the video. I've been playing a lot of single player games recently, and I have to say all of them are up there in my favorite games that I've ever played. And before people go crybaby mode in the comments, not a single one of these games is like an indie game you've never heard of. You've probably heard and probably played almost every single one of these games. I'm just playing them now. This video is basically going to be mini reviews of all of these games, but let's start off with God of War Ragnarok. Before I got a PC, I was on Xbox, so I was never able to play God of War 2018 when it originally came out, along with every other PlayStation exclusive. So me getting a PC was super exciting for me because I wanted to play, you know, the Spider-Mans, the God of Wars, everything else. And I've been waiting almost 2 years now to finally play God of War Ragnarok on PC, even though, you know, I already knew everything about the game. I watched people play it. It was either watch somebody I like play the game or get it spoiled for me. I watched it, and even then, knowing everything that was gonna happen, I was still so excited to play this game when I could. I can't really say much about this game that you probably haven't heard before. Christopher Judge as Kratos will forever be some of the best casting of like all time. I honestly would say every character in this game is near perfect. The combat, I would say they overall improved from the first game by like a very big chunk. And speaking of improving from the first game, bosses. The worst part about God of War 2018 was the lack of bosses, and then just the lack of unique bosses, at least mini bosses. It did get annoying. The game was still great, but in God of War Ragnarok, it's just a major increase from the first game. Graphics wise, this game looks great. It's also well optimized on PC from today's standards. My very minor complaints visually are the water's like flickering, even at like native resolution. It's not that big of a deal, and nothing else is like shimmering, but it is noticeable when you're in Smartofime. One thing I don't like too, and that I miss from the first game, is they took away like your hand and shield combat tree, and I was sad when I was like trying to figure out how to just use my hands and my shield, and I realized they took it away, which is sad. But everything else in the combat is like improved. The drop near sphere literally fills that whole pause, and I would say overall the worst part about this game is that you do have to make a PSN account. For me, it was not that big of a deal. I know PlayStation can have its tendencies to get hacked every now and again, so I made a burner email just for like a PSN account. I've been waiting for this game for 2 years. I'm not gonna have a freaking PSN account stop me from playing this game. But if you are in one of the many countries not allowed to have a PSN account, then you're kind of shit out of luck, which is very lame of PlayStation. Other than that, this game is very, very close to perfect. But moving on to the next game. Black Myth Wukong is a game that up until right around release, I didn't know much about. I knew of Wukong and a tiny bit of Journey to the West, which is what the game is based on. Other than a trailer a couple years ago, I saw nothing. And then the freaking game breaking records on Steam for the most active players in a single player game ever. And there were two things that made me want to play this game that I saw was the combat and the graphics, both of which for me are some of the highlights of this game. The combat in this game is like extremely fun to play around with, and I honestly could make a full video on this game, but that's not for today, so I'll keep it relatively short. I love making different weapon, armor, spell, stance combos, and for like each individual bosses, I would literally like change my whole entire setup just because you could. On the top of that, the graphics in this game, I would say might be some of the best graphics we have in games so far, if you can run it. This game is made in UE5, which means it's going to be unoptimized, which it's still sad to say about UE5, but that's like their thing, which is unfortunate to say that this game is unoptimized. Not as bad as other UE5 games, but it still has the occasional stutter when walking into a new area, but it really has nothing to do with the game and everything to do with Unreal Engine 5. But man, is it worth it. There are a lot of really good looking areas in this game and a lot of cool, unique bosses. I found myself taking screenshots while playing this game for some reason. I will say one complaint visually is some of the textures were just like shit looking. Like I can't even be like nice about it. They just didn't look that great. I forgot it was one of the long bosses where the arena just looks so, I don't know, like smooth. And the last thing I'll say about this game, which is positive, is the music. The music in this game is very, very good. Some of my favorite game music, especially when you're fighting the bosses, it's, you know, it just adds that extra bit of what's the word, fun. But if you can run this game and like very fun combat, lots of bosses, I would say get it. You will not regret it. I did not mean for that to rhyme. But the next game, and another PlayStation game, Ghost of Tsushima. I really wanted to play this game for a while, and I just never really got around to buying it. And it was on sale, so I decided it would be the perfect time to buy it. And I'm glad to say, I really like this game. I like samurai and like Ronin anything, so this game was already going to just be good for me. The main thing I noticed instantly was the art style of this game. I think is the best art style out of any game I've ever played. This game doesn't have like, you know, Black Myth Wukong level graphics, but where they shine are their like wind physics and their lighting, and they're just, it honestly looks very, very good. How the game looks is not all it has though. The combat is like very, very satisfying. It's simple, but in my opinion, perfect. You have 4 different stances for different types of enemies. Like you have like your spear guys, your sword guys, your shield guys, and your tanks, and each one of those you're gonna need a different weapon stance to kill them. You also have multiple different side weapons as well, like your bows and your ghost weapons. And I will say, if you have a PS5 controller, play this game on a PS5 controller, even if you're on PC. All the DualSense features in this game are pretty well done. For example, your controller vibrates paws differently when your horse is on like different terrain, and your triggers get harder to pull pause when like you're pulling back your bow. I don't know, it's just simple stuff that adds to the immersion, I guess. You also have a ton of sick looking armor. Like I said, I love Ronin and samurai, anything stuff like that, dude. So this game with their swords, with their everything, kind of just like got me hooked. There's even a God of War armor set, which is one of my favorites. This game's story is also very good, and I will say the voice actors for the most part are good. I originally played in English because that's what was intended, but once I found out who the voice actor was for Jin, who is the main character, is none other than Zoro's voice actor, I had to play it in Japanese.
大事ないか。
行前をご存知でしょうか。メシーの語り部です。
名は知っておるが、会ったことはない。
It literally will be the closest we will ever have to like an actual good One Piece game or like a good Zoro game. And I just had to play it in Japanese. I don't know. It just felt right. My one complaint about this game though are some of the missions kind of like super suck. You have to investigate areas sometimes and they just like take long. You literally could just like kill everybody there way faster instead of just slowly walking around for information. And you also have like trail missions where I don't know, they just kind of get annoying after doing them. But other than that, I could not recommend this game enough. Moving into the last game, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Just like Ghost of Tsushima, I like samurai games. And I was originally hesitant to get this game since it's a FromSoft game, and I did not really like Elden Ring as much as other people did. And no, that's not because I'm bad. I beat the game without using summons. I was just not a fan of the super open worldiness of that game and how you kind of get told nothing. And I'm happy to say that this game is great. The combat is so much more satisfying, and especially when you get good at it. They mastered the feeling of like getting a perfect deflect and mastered the shitty feeling of getting an absolute dog shit deflect to where you actually want to be good. You want to get the timing right. I felt it was just more organized, and I love that there was a skill tree. I love how there's skill trees in games. It just makes things so much more simple. I have like a goal to reach. I want to get this so I can get that. I don't need to look up this, that. I could go on an Elden Ring rant. I'm not gonna do that because I know I would get publicly hung if I ever said my opinions on Elden Ring. The movement was a lot less clunky than Elden Ring. The bosses in this game were pretty much all very fun to fight. The only annoying ones are like the headless and the other purple guys. They just take a really long time to kill if you don't have the confetti. But other than that, every single boss is very good. And Ishin, which is the last boss of the game, is a very near perfect boss. Even though it's a 4-phase boss fight, it's still so good, dude. My favorite thing about this game has to be like the feeling of getting good at it. There's no BS you can really do in this game, but there are cheeses, there are glitches that you could do, but the average person is just going to have to just get good at the game, and I love that. You do have some help with your prosthetics. I didn't really find any of them to be like game breaking. I know there are some bosses where it's like, oh, he's super weak to this thing, but I never looked anything up. I love doing like combos with some of the prosthetics, like the little knife you have, you can do like combo with like the special moves or whatever they're called. But get this game. It's not extremely difficult when you get the hang of it, and when you do, it's honestly some of like the most satisfying combat you'll have in any game. But that is all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed me talking about some games again. Hopefully I'll be playing some games. There's not really much out. I'm not playing Black Ops 6. I'm not dropping $70 in that game. I played the beta for free. It was shit, but have a great day. Peace.